Take a slow, deep breath. Now gently look around your home. Does it truly feel peaceful? Or have you simply gotten used to the weight of things? As we grow older, we gather more than just memories. We gather objects, gifts, keepsakes, duplicates, maybes, and one days. But here's a quiet truth. Some of these things, though familiar, may be silently stealing your space and your sense of peace. Today, we're going to uncover 19 surprising items that may be making your home feel heavier, more chaotic, and less restful, without you even realizing it. And stay with me, because near the end of this video, I'll reveal the one thing that nearly everyone believes they should keep, but it's actually one of the biggest sources of visual and emotional clutter in any home. Let's begin. 1. The emotional weight we don't see. Not all clutter is easy to see. Sometimes it's not the piles on tables or overstuffed drawers that weigh us down, but the quiet, emotional items we've kept for years, the ones tied to people, places, and moments we've loved. A gift we never really liked, but still keep out of guilt. A chair from a late relative that no longer fits our space, but carries too much memory to remove. These things begin to add up, quietly, until they take more from our peace than they give in comfort. Carol, a 78-year-old retired nurse, used to say her home was full of stories, and it was, but not all of them were joyful. One day, her daughter visited and gently asked, "Mom, do you actually love everything in this room, or have you just gotten used to it?" That question stayed with her. It opened her eyes to the emotional clutter that had slowly crept in. She began by letting go of what she called guilt gifts: the unused kitchen gadget, the oversized sweater, the framed print that never matched her taste. She reminded herself that a gift has done its job once it's given. Then came the keepsakes. Carol created one beautiful memory box and kept only her most cherished letters and photos. Finally, she passed on her mother's old cabinet to her niece, who had always admired it. In each release, Carol didn't lose anything. She found something: space, lightness, and a sense of calm she hadn't felt in years. 2. Clutter in disguise. Not all clutter looks like clutter. Some of it wears a disguise, useful on the surface, familiar to the eye, easy to overlook. But over time, these things begin to take more than they give. They take up space, energy, clarity. They become background noise in our lives, quietly contributing to that feeling of overwhelm we can't quite name. The shelves are full, the walls are busy, the cabinets won't close, and yet we tell ourselves nothing's wrong. Because technically, it's all in place. But when every corner is filled, when there's no room to rest your eyes, your home stops feeling like a place to breathe. Start with the books. Over time, shelves become a reflection of the past. Old novels, outdated cookbooks, manuals for appliances you no longer own. Books carry value, but also weight. If you haven't opened a book in over 10 years, ask yourself gently, is it still serving you? Carol once had 5 shelves packed to the brim. She kept them out of habit, even though she rarely read them. One weekend, she chose her favorites, the ones that made her feel something, and donated the rest to a local library. Now her bookshelf holds not only stories, but space for a small plant, a framed photo of her late husband, and a candle she lights each evening. Her living room didn't change much, but the feeling, lighter, calmer, hers. Next, take a look at your decorations, the framed artwork from 30 years ago that no longer fits your taste. The collection of ceramic angels that seemed charming at the time, but now gather dust and pull attention from the rest of the room. It's easy to forget that the objects on our shelves and walls speak on our behalf. to others, and to ourselves. Ask, does this still reflect who I am today? Your home should evolve with you, not freeze in time. Carol chose to keep one piece of art that still moved her and replace the rest with simpler, more personal touches. A hand-sewn quilt from her sister, a watercolor by her grandson. She didn't lose her story, she updated the chapter. Then there are the tiny things. Small figurines, glass jars, souvenirs from places long past. Each one may be lovely on its own, but together they create visual noise. A shelf crowded with trinkets leaves no space for the eye to rest. Worse, it makes cleaning harder, moving harder, thinking harder. Carol used to have over 30 small collectibles on a single bookshelf. She kept 10 of her favorites and boxed the rest, promising herself she could rotate them later if she wished. She never did. Turns out she didn't miss them. What she found instead was a feeling of ease, not just in her home, but in her body. Clutter doesn't always scream for your attention. Sometimes it whispers over and over until you forget it's even there. But once you notice it, once you make room, even in one small area, a shelf, a table, a corner, you begin to feel the shift. Space invites breath. Simplicity invites calm, and what once felt like a busy room begins to feel like a soft exhale. 3. The someday trap. There's a quiet kind of clutter that builds up slowly, not out of sentiment, but out of possibility. We tell ourselves we might need it, might use it, might want it, someday. And so we hold on. We tuck it away in drawers, garages, closets, corners. We store it in bins labeled just in case. But often, that day never comes. And in the meantime, those items, the ones we meant to get to, meant to use, meant to sort, begin to fill the spaces meant for living. Carol had always been a planner. She kept extra blankets, extra dishes, extra cords, just in case. Old magazines, stacks of bedding, boxes of candles, empty jars. They weren't useless, not exactly, but they weren't useful either. They simply sat, waiting for a purpose that never arrived. And slowly, her closets began to tighten. Her cabinets stopped opening smoothly. Her garage, once a space for projects, became hard to walk through. What began as preparation became pressure. One of the biggest culprits was paperwork. Years of it. Receipts from stores that no longer existed, medical bills already paid, cards from birthdays long past, manuals for electronics she had thrown away years ago. Each piece of paper felt like it might matter, someday. But together, they created stress. It became difficult to find what she actually needed. So she set a rule. 30 minutes, once a week. That's all. She started small, one drawer. She shredded, recycled, and scanned what was important. She kept only what she truly needed: tax records, medical documents, a few meaningful letters. She even began to enjoy the process, putting on her favorite jazz station while she worked. Letting go didn't feel like loss. It felt like reclaiming time and space. In the kitchen, the same pattern showed up. 5 frying pans, 3 blenders, 4 colanders, and more mugs than any one person could possibly use. Some were gifts, some were duplicates, some just stayed because they always had. But cooking had become frustrating. Opening a drawer was like untangling a puzzle. Carol realized she only ever used the same 2 pans, the same 1 blender. So she kept what she loved and donated the rest. Her cabinets now close without a fight. Her countertops feel open again. And, most surprising of all, she began to enjoy cooking again, simply because it no longer felt like a chore to find what she needed. The someday trap is subtle. It wears the mask of responsibility. It tells you that holding on is being smart, being careful. But often, it's the opposite. It's the slow accumulation of burdens you never meant to carry, and the moment you let go, the moment you decide that today matters more than someday, the air shifts. There's more room to move, to think, to live. 4. The clutter that blocks your life. Some clutter is not tucked away in drawers or hiding on shelves. Some of it stands directly in our path, between rooms, along hallways, beneath our feet. This kind of clutter is more than inconvenient. It can become dangerous. It slows us down, trips us up, makes movement feel tight and effortful. And when you're older, even a small obstacle can feel like a wall. Carol began to notice it in the way she walked through her home, the oversized coffee table in the living room, the narrow gap between her dining chairs and the wall, the stack of baskets near her hallway. She hadn't thought of them as clutter. They were furniture. They were useful. But slowly, they had become barriers. Moving from room to room took more effort than it should have. One day, she bumped her shin. Not hard, but enough to make her stop and think. Why was everything in her home starting to feel like a tight squeeze? That was when she took a fresh look at her layout. The heavy wooden armchair that no one sat in, the side table that only held a dusty lamp, the china cabinet in the dining room that hadn't been opened in years. Together, they made her home feel smaller than it was, so she began removing the pieces she didn't need. She replaced the china cabinet with a smaller bookshelf. She donated the extra armchair and moved her remaining furniture to create wide, open walkways. Now she can walk through her home without hesitation. And something subtle but powerful returned: ease. In the bedroom, there was a chair in the corner. It had slowly become a storage spot for laundry, bags, unopened mail. It wasn't meant to be, but it had turned into what Carol called her temporary pile, which somehow stayed permanent. That's the nature of surface clutter. Once something lands, more things follow. It becomes a catch-all space, not because we need it, but because we haven't decided what else to do. So Carol cleared it off, moved the chair to another room, and replaced the pile with a small, calming lamp and a plant. That corner now feels like peace instead of pressure. In the garage, her tools had piled up. Carol's late husband had been a gardener, and over the years, tools had gathered: shears, pots, broken hoses, half-used bags of soil. She kept them because they reminded her of him. But she no longer gardened, and the clutter was becoming stressful. She kept one set of functional tools and donated the rest to a community garden in his honor. Letting go didn't feel like forgetting him. It felt like honoring the part of him that loved to grow and share. When we clear physical pathways, we open emotional ones too. Movement becomes easier, breathing becomes fuller, and our homes return to what they were meant to be, places that support us, not slow us down. The clutter that blocks your life is rarely just about things. It's about how you move, how you live, and how you feel in the space that's supposed to bring you rest. 5. Closets and hidden clutter. Sometimes clutter hides in the places we rarely look: behind closed doors, beneath folded towels, inside bins we have not opened in years. Just because a space is out of sight does not mean it is out of mind. In fact, these hidden pockets of clutter often create the most stress because we feel their weight even if we do not see them every day. Carol used to feel a quiet sense of dread whenever she opened her closet. It was not a disaster. No things fell out, no shelves collapsed, but it felt overwhelming. Too many clothes, coats she had not worn in over a decade, shoes that pinched her toes, scarves that no longer matched anything. Every time she tried to find something, she had to push aside layers of things she no longer used or loved. Eventually, she began to avoid that closet altogether. She wore the same handful of items over and over, not because they were her only options, but because they were the only ones she could reach without frustration. One afternoon, she decided to do what she had been putting off. She made a cup of tea, turned on soft music, and took everything out, one piece at a time. She asked herself simple, kind questions. Do I wear this? Do I feel good in this? Does this still fit the person I am today? If the answer was no, she let it go. She donated what was still useful, recycled what was worn out, and kept only the clothes she actually enjoyed wearing. When she put everything back, the space looked different. Not just neater, but calmer. Getting dressed became easier. Choosing what to wear felt lighter. That closet, once a source of stress, had become a place of clarity. The same was true for her linens. There were too many sheets, too many towels, too many extras she had kept just in case. Some were thin and frayed, others had not been used in years. She kept 2 good sets of sheets for each bed, a few towels she actually liked, and donated the rest. Now her linen closet has room to breathe. She opens it without a sigh. It serves her, not the other way around. Then there were the drawers, the ones we all have. The catch-all drawer in the kitchen, filled with pens that no longer work, old batteries, coupons that expired months ago. Or the bedside drawer stuffed with things we once thought we needed, unread books, tangled chargers, forgotten glasses cases. Carol tackled one drawer at a time, never more than she could handle in a single sitting. She added small trays, sorted items by purpose, and gave each thing a place. What stayed was what she actually used. What left was the noise. Hidden clutter is powerful, not because of its size, but because of its quiet persistence. It lingers in the background, draining energy in small, steady ways. But when you clear those spaces, even just one drawer, one shelf, one closet, you feel the shift. It is not just about tidiness. It is about reclaiming control, returning ease to your daily life, and knowing that everything in your home has a reason to be there. 6. How to let go with love. One of the hardest parts of decluttering is not the physical act of sorting or lifting or organizing. It is emotional. It is the quiet tug we feel when we hold something that used to mean more than it does now. It is the story behind the object, the person, the moment, the memory, and the fear that letting go of the item means letting go of that piece of ourselves. But what if letting go could feel more like honoring and less like losing? Carol had an entire cabinet filled with teacups. Some were delicate, others chipped. Many had been gifts from friends now gone. She never used them, not once in the last 5 years. But she felt guilty even thinking about giving them away. Each cup reminded her of someone she had loved. But one afternoon, she realized something. She did not need dozens of teacups to remember those people. Their stories, their voices, their laughter, those were in her, not in porcelain. She chose her 3 favorites, the ones that truly brought her joy. She donated the rest to a women's shelter. And when she opened space in her cabinet, she did not feel emptier. She felt lighter. She felt peace. Letting go does not mean forgetting. In fact, sometimes it makes the memory clearer. Carol began taking photos of sentimental items she wanted to remember. Her husband's Navy medals, her children's school crafts, a quilt her grandmother made. She created a small photo album and added little notes to each picture. When she wanted to revisit those moments, she could flip through pages rather than sort through boxes. And those photos took up no space at all, but they brought back the same warmth. She also created what she called her memory box. Just one. A beautiful, sturdy container where she kept the most precious keepsakes, old letters, her wedding ring, a dried flower from a meaningful anniversary. When it was full, she reviewed it. If something no longer felt necessary, she made room. She chose to be the editor of her memories, not the keeper of everything. That box became something she enjoyed revisiting, not something she avoided. Letting go with love is not about erasing the past. It is about choosing which pieces of the past you want to carry forward. It is about creating space, not just in your home, but in your heart, for what matters most right now. Because you are still living, you are still growing, and your space should reflect that truth. If you find yourself holding something and wondering, should I keep this? Ask yourself, does it bring me peace? Do I use it? Do I love it? If not, maybe it is time to thank it and let it go. Because when you make room, you make way for something else. Clarity, calm, and the quiet joy of a home that fits who you are today. 7. Rediscovering peace. There comes a moment, often quiet and unexpected, when you walk into a room and feel something different. The air feels lighter. Your eyes are not darting from item to item, trying to make sense of it all. Your shoulders drop. You exhale without realizing it. That moment, that ease, is what this entire journey has been about. Carol reached that point one afternoon while sitting in her living room. The shelves that used to be crowded now held only a few meaningful items. A photo of her late husband, a small ceramic bird from her daughter, a framed quote that made her smile. The rest had been boxed away or let go, and what remained was intentional. It was not emptiness. It was space. Space to think, to rest, to simply be. Creating that kind of peace in your home does not mean removing everything. It means choosing what stays with care. Keeping surfaces clear so the room can breathe, arranging furniture so movement is easy and natural, allowing closets and cabinets to hold only what you actually need, rather than everything you have collected. It is about design, yes, but more than that. It is about feeling. Peace does not come from perfection. It comes from alignment, when your surroundings reflect who you are and how you live today. That might mean having fewer decorations but loving every one. It might mean leaving a shelf half empty because it feels better that way. It might mean saying no to something new because you have made peace with what you already have. Carol began walking through her home every few months with a fresh eye. Not to judge, not to criticize, but to ask herself, does this still serve me? That simple question helped her stay connected to her space and to her needs as they changed over time. She no longer feared the slow buildup of clutter because she had learned how to respond with clarity and kindness. And most importantly, she gave herself the permission to grow, to let her home grow with her, to release what no longer fit and embrace what brought her comfort. The result was not a perfect house. It was a calm one, a home that supported her rather than demanded something from her, a space where her days could unfold gently without the constant friction of too much. Peace is not a prize you win at the end of decluttering. It is a feeling you create step by step, decision by decision, room by room. And once you feel it, you know this is what home should be. Should. Your home holds your history, your memories, your laughter, your quiet mornings and late-night thoughts. But it should also hold space for who you are now and for the life you still want to live. Over the past few minutes, we have uncovered 19 quiet things that often take up more space than we realize. Some were practical, old papers, extra tools, unused furniture. Others were emotional, guilt gifts, sentimental pieces, things we kept out of love or habit or fear of forgetting. But what ties them all together is this: when they no longer serve you, they begin to weigh on you. Letting go does not mean erasing the past. It means honoring it with intention. It means choosing what stays and giving yourself permission to release what does not bring you peace. When you do that, even in the smallest way, you begin to create a home that breathes with you, a home that feels lighter, clearer, and more like the life you live today. So here is your gentle invitation. You do not need to do everything at once. Just choose one area, one drawer, one shelf, one table. Start there. See how it feels. Notice what changes in your body, in your breathing, in your mood. Then, when you're ready, move to the next. And if this message spoke to you, if it helped you feel seen or inspired, consider sharing it with someone you love, someone who might also be holding on to a little too much. Your home should be a place of peace, not pressure. And every small step you take toward that peace is a gift to yourself and to the life you are still creating. Thank you for spending this time with me.